bit about the future of Django. As you probably know, Django is one of the most famous framework for the web application in Python. And I want to show you what we can do with new technologies like serverless to put some new things in old body. Okay, agenda for today's meetings. I will describe myself a little bit, then we will talk about two main players on the stage, about Django, about serverless. Then I will tell you why we use Zappa at Netguru. Then we'll talk a little bit about money, because at the end of the day, all comes to the money. We will tell if there are any other similar solutions out on the market. And if you have any questions, please save it to later. We'll do some Q&A after or after the presentation, somewhere on the corridor. Okay. Well, my name is Paweł Buchowski. As I said previously, I'm a Python developer for like 6 or 7 years. A little bit of DevOps. I like to put my screwdriver in the cloud or in DevOps things. I also train programming or train people how to write in Python for like 2 years already. And I work at Netguru. Maybe some of you heard. Netguru is a quite big software house company, fully based in Poland. I'm a team leader there. Okay. Also, there's a small competition. If anyone of you notice some references to movies or games during the presentation, you can win like cool t-shirts. So take a look. Django. Hands up, who worked with Django or heard of it? All over Europe. Yeah. Initial commit in 2005. It was 0.95 version, as probably something like that. Then it took 3 years to actually deploy the 1.0 version. So 2008, first stable release. And like a couple of days ago, we had like 2.2.5 version. So for 14 years, I could actually have a son. Like 14 years old, and it's a lot of changes. Imagine where you were at 14 years ago, yeah, and Django born in 2005. So it's based on Whiskey architecture or WSGI architecture, like many other frameworks, like Flask or any other. It's loved by a huge community. Thousands or millions of people is using Django, and it's really its biggest advantage. It has also tons of extensions, libraries, anything you probably can imagine doing with Django, it's probably already done. So there's no really need to invent the wheel one more time. You can see at djangoprojects.org to see probably most of the most used libraries. A lot of people also hate Django for its ORM, which is a little bit rusty paradigm. You know, Django born on the idea of monolithic application that renders here for you an HTML and process all the business logic at every request and stuff like this. And during these 14 years, a lot of happened around web programming and web applications. So, and the creators and the core commuters a little bit always looked back from every version. They had to like the burden for themselves. So even the newest version of Django, which is they broke the Python 2 compatibility because they have to, doomsday is coming. But a lot of people complains that even in the newest code there are some things or some parts in core libraries that comes from 2005. So it's a lot of history. And of course, probably I don't think it's so much useful nowadays when we mostly do some single page application, and it's really really hard to customize. CCBW, if you know Django, this cool site you should check out. Every class-based view is well described. And what's the future? From 3.0, the core contributors tell that they will probably switch to asynchronous event loop. So, finger crossed, I'm going to the pipe. We will see how they manage, for example, database connections. But it's almost 2012 and we live in a serverless world, or this is another, maybe this is just a buzzword. Function as a service. Every major cloud provider has their own. We have AWS Lambda, we have Google Cloud Functions, we have Azure Functions. Probably does anyone don't know what the Lambda do? Just like that, like in general. Okay, so this is just I know, black box code you spawn somewhere in your cloud provider dashboard. You have an endpoint, and this is it. So it's a piece of code that lives on an endpoint. So this is mostly a virtual view for your root. Nothing more. Is this next microservices? You know, like in back old days, like last summer, there was a hype for microservices. All of the companies, all of the projects were doing microservices. They were talking that they do microservices. And right now, the hype is for serverless and for lambdas. And I just want to show you that this is a cool stuff. It works very well. But this is not dedicated for every project. So you need to think always twice if it's correct for you, because simplicity is always the best. And what are the most biggest benefits from using serverless? So you only pay for the runtime. Your boss will load it. You only pay for the milliseconds or the seconds that your request is actually processes. You don't pay for idle time of the server. Now then you have a free scaling. AWS lambdas are actually scaled on SQS, so it's a queue system, which works flawless, and it always spawns from the nearest region for the request. So if you have I don't know, in Los Angeles, your application in Los Angeles, and your requester is from Rome, it will spawn somewhere in Frankfurt. So the latency will be significantly smaller, and it's a huge boost for your performance. Unfortunately, there are some limitations or caps. So you have only 1,000 concurrent execution in the region. So you can't really have more than these parallel executions. But I don't think it's a big thing if you think that every request should take like a couple of seconds. So the 1,000 execution parallel is like a huge number. And there's a duration cap. Lambda cannot process the request longer than 5 minutes. But 5 minutes is also plenty of time, and probably something went wrong if any request process. And last thing, startup licenses. Lambdas are based on Docker, so every time you make a request, something needs to build the Docker and start up the Docker. So it takes time. Currently for the PyCon or the higher level languages, it's around a second or two before the Docker came up. And for JVM, it could be even worse in a couple of seconds. So it might hurt you a lot. But the Docker lives for 15 minutes. So if it spawns, 15 minutes it will be healthy. It will respond for any other responses. And you can use something like keep warming method. So you will have like additional service that will just call your lambdas, or the crucial one, to keep them warm. Yeah? And despite that the lambda is living for 15 minutes, you just pay only for the time that it processes the request. Okay, and Zappa. Where does the idea come from? Of course, let's meet the holy trinity of every software house. So we have a client that he has a limited budget and a little bit tight budget deadline. He had like part of the infrastructure legacy code, but it worked. So he had some problems, but most performance problems. There was some couple of workers that take payload from the user, do some magic, and put things in the database, and store files. So nothing complicated. He wanted something for now to resolve mostly the performance problems, because the workers had peaks. So they were used mostly during the day, during like from 10 to 3 p.m. So he wanted to actually have something that will spread or scale up during these hours. And of course, we came up with something, I don't know, based on Terraform, or check the traffic with Ansible and spawn additional EC2 servers with the application, stuff like this. But it will take time to develop. So we came up with an idea of using Zappa. Why? First of all, we want to, work with new things. So we wanted to check out Zappa. Second of all, as I will show you later in a second, Zappa does not require any actually changes in your code. It works out of the box. You have like your application, and you don't need to put any new line in your configs, nothing. And it's like a framework for serverless, not only for WSG application. You can use like any other tornado or just pure functions, any you imagine. So it works for probably all of the Python code you can work with. And as the creator said, no permanent infrastructure. Okay, so say hello to Zappa. After, first of all, one thing is required that is not shown on the slide. You need to have like set up AWS credentials. So AWS has this cool CLI command line tool that allows you to download your credential file, put in your home root, and this is it. Then you just want to pip install Zappa, and voila, just use Zappa init, and you're ready to go. Actually, you will be asked for a couple of questions. Here, what do you want to call this environment? You can use any name you want. I don't know, PyCon, foobar, anything. Then it will ask you for the name for the S3 bucket, where all the code will be stored somewhere in S3. Also, it comes with default random name, nothing complicated. But my personal favorite thing is auto-discovery of your architecture. As you can see, it asked me that it looks like this is a Django application. I used the Wagtail example bakery application. So actually, the example repository comes with free implementation, as I remember, and Zappa discovered all of them as a separate project. And actually, it asked me where your settings file, config file lays. So which of the projects I want to deploy. How cool is that? I just run the zappa-django. And after that, okay, and also it also asked me if I want to deploy my lambda globally. Because lambda, as I said, are region-based. Everything is on AWS is region-based. So it asked me if I want to automatically deploy to the whole world. I said no, because I said yes. Doesn't matter. If you want to play first time, you should probably want to like set it to the only one region, and it will set smaller amount of things in your console in AWS, so you won't be lost when everything's actually will be big. So. And last but not least, it will create Zappa settings JSON. If some of you are familiar with, for example, Terraform, you might be, this is something similar like Terraform state, but it's really, really simpler and easier. And after that, after you have your settings JSON, you just type Zappa deploy. You can use the name of the environment, or if this is the only environment at all, you can just put Zappa deploy. As you can see, it's creating IAM role for this site. It creates some policy permissions, bundles some stuff, and it's fake. Yeah. This is quite a new project, and Zappa is not so much stable at this moment. As you can see, I have some improper configured library error, and it says that SQLite or later is required. From Django 2.2, I believe they bumped the minimum SQLite version that requires to run the project. And as you know, Lambda doesn't have any libraries for you. So everything that your code is using, you need to provide with the code. So Zappa has some pre-compiled C extensions, and also it has an extension for SQLite, but unfortunately it's 3.7. So out of the box, it won't work with newest Django. You need to downgrade it 2.2, 2.1 to actually work out of the box. There's some open issues. There's a hanging pull request. They will probably fix it in a couple of weeks. We'll see. And what happened? Of course, after I downgraded, after I downgraded the Django, you can see that everything is working fine. Here is my URL to the Wagtail, and this is purely serverless. I don't have any server, so this is like hosting your Python application in serverless environment. Every request spawns new lambda. Okay, so what actually happened there under the hood? As you can see, we created I will say a little bit more later about it. From the virtual environment, from the place you were running Zappa deploy, it bundles or package all your libraries and things into a zip file and send it to the backend on S3. And then it creates API gateway for you with the proxy route that I showed you before. And you can, I don't know, use Route 53 to go an DNS resolver, stuff like this. And this is actually the place where you meet the outside world. And every request is proxied to your lambda. And here's the place where the dragon lies. And like in every Dungeons and Dragons game, you don't really want to go there by your own because the code is huge. Imagine you just packed all your application to just one lambda, and it needs to process all your routes or all your business logic, and this is only one lambda. So what it does really, at every request, it spins an WSGI server for you. So a couple of years ago, there was a single thread model. So you spawn a single thread for every request at your server. Right now, you spawn a WSGI server for every request. But you know, we have money, we have time. Yeah, so this is basically the Zappa architecture. You might say that this is a bit overload. Yes, but hey, we just deployed our Django application to the serverless in like, I don't know, 10 minutes. Plus, of course, we had to downgrade, so probably we Googled some error messages. But hey, I think I would say it's worth it, but this is the decision for you. You know that here is messy code, but I don't think anybody is looking there actually, so we can agree to that. So we have a working application in serverless, but I want to mention some, I believe, crucial things for you when you start your journey with Zappa. One of them is zappa-django-utils. It comes with very handy extension for default database setup for Django. So you actually, if you are using your SQLite database backend, I don't know, because you are using some proof of concept of your idea or something like that, you can actually store your SQLite in a package, in S3. It's great. And you just install Django-utils, put the bucket name, and it's ready to go. Also, there comes with some handy small command lines, commands that, for example, create admin user. It will automatically create for you admin user with some random password. And also, if you are not using or if you are not deploying some REST APIs and you still need to serve some static files, you might want to use Django S3 storage, which will automatically send your whole static files also to some configured bucket. And all the things you need to do is just put some 4 lines in your settings, and then just run manage by collect static node, and of course update your Zappa environment. And this is how it looks when it goes green. So you have at every Zappa deploy you have like a health check. So it's always called your base route, and it will complain if it won't return 200. So keep it in mind. Any other cool feature? Zappa is a huge framework. Actually, the best thing where you can start digging up into the Zappa is the GitHub repository. They have huge documentation there. And another place where you want to search is the blog for the creators. So blog zappa.io, something like that. And another commands you may find useful is zappa tail. It will tail to the log file from the lambda. So you have remote logs on your computer. Zappa template that will produce a CloudFormation template for your infrastructure. For those of you who are working more as a DevOps, you will probably be familiar with CloudFormation. Zappa package, if you want to actually check how the package will looks like, so it will just bundle your application without sending it actually to the server. So it's cool for deploying and seeing what's inside. And also a cool feature, you have a rollback, totally for free, easy to use rollback. Lambda's code is versioned, so you can actually go back some version back with your Lambda. And Zappa comes with a very easy command to do it from your local computer. In real world, you probably don't want to send to the server any crucial data like passwords and stuff like this. So these three configurations, or these two configurations, are for you to actually put some environment variables, AWS environment variables that plays in your console. And also you can exclude some files you don't want to put to the bundled package. Why it is important, this exclude? Because Zappa, same like Lambda, but Zappa has a package size limit. Actually, it goes like to 120 megabytes, something like that. So it's relatively small. But hey, it should contain only your code without any actually static files, because static files were sent to the S3 bucket. So keep in mind to actually keep it as small as possible. Okay, benefits: no vendor lock. Zappa does not require any from you to actually do any changes to your code. If you want, you can deploy to the Amazon. If not, maybe I don't know, the things are not so great for you. You can move to the dedicated server, to the GCP, Azure, bare metal. You still have your application. You still have your code. And auto-discover. As I showed you before, it's really cool. It just works out of the box most of the time. Zappa have built-in keep warm feature, so you can actually schedule a job that will keep warm your Lambda that you spawned before. As I mentioned before, so you won't end up to using your cold Lambda, so you won't end up in this delay in time. Easy rollbacks, it will just Zappa rollback, and you put number of version you want to go back, so actually it's trivial. And here, hybrid apps. This is the thing I could actually put a separate presentation about, because hybrid apps are something between the typical REST API, like I showed you on the Wagtail Bakery example, and something that use the AWS source events. So, for example, you can delegate some of your functions or some of your jobs to dedicated service like S3, SQS, or any other. For example, you have image resize job. For your user uploads your photo avatar on your website, and you are resizing it to some smaller sizes. And that's the thing that resizes the image. You may want to actually not do in your code, when the user will wait for the result. But you may want to send it actually straight to the S3 and give the S3 the job to do. So you can, using the Zappa, you can write some more complicated settings and actually make some microservices over the infrastructure of AWS. But this is a huge topic, and probably you want to read it more on the official documentation. Biggest cons of the tool. I actually don't like it when it creates your package from your virtual environment. It does not use your, I don't know, requirements text or pip-end, anything like that. It's just bundles all of your libraries that it finds on your Python app and creates a package. So you might want to use Docker for it. So you have a Docker that is used only for deploying Zappa. So the only command in your Docker is Zappa deploy. So before that you need to install only the necessary libraries that you use. Package size limit, as I said before, and there's a lot of bugs actually. Some of them are really trivial, like right now if you run Zappa template to generate the CloudFormation template, you will end up with attribute error because someone forget that AP gateway policy attribute is not defined. You just go to the py line 666 and comment out this AP gateway policy variable, and voila, it works again. So it's a little bit messy. There's a lot of pull requests on the GitHub. Hopefully they will fix and stabilize a little bit in the future, so we could use it more. And let's have some comparisons between the standard EC2 deployment and the things that we actually use to make our bakery run. So we have lambda pricing, which is based on per request. A lot of zeros after the comma, and there's a 2 at the end. We have a duration also, so it will also build you for the time that the lambda is working. S3 for your static files as well as your code is built, as you can see. I don't think I need to write or read it out loud. So, and EC2 it really varies when it comes to price. You have a lot of different machines you can use, from the cheapest one and like the largest one actually could even cost $0.50 or $0.50 for hour. This is for hour working, and you can like process, I don't know, 2 requests here in an hour, and you still be billed for whole hour. But I will say one more time, lambdas and Zappa especially are not for everyone. So you need to just ask yourself or brainstorm the idea of moving to the serverless, because maybe you're just happy where you are. So what's next? 2 biggest competitors. One of them is not much competitor, but Chalice is also a serverless framework, PyCon serverless framework, developed by AWS, and is exclusively bonded to the AWS. And the biggest problem with Chalice is you actually need to rewrite a little bit of your application to be able to use Chalice. It uses lambdas and AWS infrastructure better because it's developed by the creators, and also you can create more than one lambda for your root. There's some benefits, but still you need to rewrite some code. All the things I showed you before, maybe not all, but most of them, it can be done via using Terraform. This is the tool for doing infrastructure as a service. So you actually write some JSON file describing your AWS infrastructure, and also you can create some lambdas. You can put there a zip file with your code and just do Terraform apply, and it will create everything. But this tool is not dedicated for the application, so actually you have to figure it out everything for your own to build the package. And yeah, this is where the Zappa really shows the benefits. I would encourage you to check out the official repo, also as well as issues, because there's, as I said, a lot of issues. Okay, this project is young and still in the process of developing. Maybe some open source contributors here. Okay, for today, from my side, I think thank you for the patience, and also we are hiring. If anyone is interested in Python positions, we have opens like from regulars to technician leads. So feel free to find me somewhere here and ask me the details if you're interested. And probably now is the time for some questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have a bunch of questions. The one with the most upvotes. When you use Zappa with SQLite, where is the database stored? If you can answer that with.
Yeah, I showed the
won't it get corrupted if there are multiple writes for multiple function invocations?
But this will act like the same if you have typical architecture. So you always need to be prepared for some transactionals and some race conditions. So this is not mostly tied to the lambda, but this is how the database works. So you need to be sure that you are secured with some logs or stuff like this.
The next one. If I want to check if my business idea has potential, how much money approximately will I spend monthly? So.
Zero?
You showed some
or 1 million. Yeah, I can show this. This is quite a broad question, but I think it's related to this table. I don't know. It depends on your traffic. You can easily calculate how much money you will spend using EC2, because just multiply 1 month and how many hours and use the server. But with Lambda, you can even spend $0 if you haven't had any requests during the month.
Maybe if you have some example of an app, if there are like 1,000 visits or something, how much you pay?
No, it doesn't. Actually, I will encourage you to use the AWS calculators for the pricing, because it's the easiest way to do some simulations.
Okay, troubleshooting and debugging. Where are the logs? Is it possible to know what's happening in small container? What about using libraries like FFmpeg?
Okay, so where are the logs? Logs are in TownMatch, Amazon service for the logs, and you have zappa tail for like tailing to the logs. It is possible to know what's happening in the spawn container. You can actually use a PDB with Zappa, so the debugger. So you actually can step by step go through the request in your container. So it will also be useful. And what about using libraries like FFmpeg? If you if you pack it in your bundle, I think it will work. I don't know really, because I didn't do any streaming with lambdas. It's a cool idea to for your project after hours.
What if my infrastructure is complex? Is it possible to use CloudFormation along with Zappa to create necessary services? And where does Zappa stand in it?
Zappa will actually create a CloudFormation template for you, not the other way. So you may want to divide your infrastructure into smaller pieces. Like, as you said, if it's complex, it's probably big, so it will exceed the 120 megabytes size limit. And then you can run Zappa on the smaller things. And actually, you're ending up with some microservices architecture, like distributed monolith or something like that. And Zappa actually is automation tool for moving your Python code to the lambda in 2 lines. It's like mixing with Terraform with some auto-discovery tools and stuff like this. Actually, there's a lot of magic down there, so...
Okay, finally, is there any possibility or plans for Zappa to support more AWS services that can trigger lambdas, for example, SNS?
I don't really know. You know?
It's possible, but you can involve these functions by SNS, SQS, DynamoDB, and S3 packages.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Paweł.
Thank you.